Hi, everyone, and welcome to God's Plan, Your Part, a podcast where our goal is to read the entire Bible in a year, seeking to understand God's plan of redemption while discovering daily and practically your part in it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to God's Plan, Your Part. Today we are looking at Numbers chapter 33 and 34. We're almost done with Numbers. And this is probably another one of those days where there's not a ton to take out of the text. We basically get a recounting of the journey of the Israelites, kind of covering like the 40 years after they left Egypt. And then we get the boundaries of the land and kind of setting up who's going to be in charge of what tribe. So as we read over these, Jenny, what do you want to talk about today?
So my first thought when we were reading through chapter 33 is this recounting of all of the different places that they have been. And it makes me think of like, the kid back in the day in school that used to come back from summer vacation and be like, and we went here, and then we went here, and then we camped here. That's like this cross-country story that you're like, oh yeah, you're so cool. But I'm sure the Israelites probably would not have been bragging on all these places they've had to camp and stay and whatever. But as we read through this part, there was a part of the footnotes that had mentioned that this chronicling of the journey not only gives you all these like crazy names that are super hard to pronounce, it also gives like an actual account for every place that they had stayed, and it's a very credible source then because of the account that they had taken of all the places that they've been. It makes it historically more accurate for people that look through the Bible and all the places that they were. It just makes the Bible a more credible document, which is kind of cool because at first you read it, you're just like, oh my gosh, how many places did they go and how long is this going to be? But it's kind of cool, I guess.
One of the things that stuck out to me is just a tiny little line. It's Exodus. That was a while ago. It's Numbers 33, verse 4. While the Egyptians were burying all their firstborn, whom the Lord had struck down among them, on their gods also the Lord executed judgments. So this is like a recounting of the 10 plagues, but it's also kind of a precursor to the idea that God is going to execute judgment on all of these Canaanite gods as well. So it is Moses' way of saying like, hey, you saw God deliver you from all those fake gods, and now God's going to deliver us from all of these fake gods. And so he does give an accurate account of where they've been staying. It is very common in the ancient Near East to do that. That's essentially what the whole thing is. There is a repeat command to drive out all the inhabitants of the land of Canaan, because if they don't, they're going to become barbs in their eyes and thorns in their sides.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That sounded pretty horrible, actually.
And that is going to happen, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. They fail to drive them all out, and they fall into idolatry over and over and over.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So,
but then 34 it talks about how they broke apart the land for different chiefs and their tribes. But what was interesting, and I guess I just didn't catch this earlier or yesterday in that episode, it said in the footnotes that 10 of the tribes were represented, and the 2 that were not were Reuben and Gad, because originally they had wanted to settle east of the Jordan, mm-hmm. and the only way that they could do that was they had to fight mm-hmm. to clear the land. That was like the one exception.
Yeah, so they do end up going to fight. We kind of saw that all clarified yesterday. And so they are going to be part of this conquest, and then they are going to come back. So if you look at the numberings, and it's like, wait, 10 and a half, what is going on here? It is that those tribes are going to go back on the other side of the Jordan after the conquest is over. So you'll see that. You also see here that Caleb and Joshua are listed as chiefs of tribes because they're the only 2 faithful people that are allowed to go into the promised land.
There's like highly, highly, highly spoken of these 2.
Yeah.
So I feel like that says a lot considering every single other person that we've heard of thus far.
I guess they probably worked through a lot of like hard feelings for 40 years. Right. Like, hey, we literally said we could do this, and now we have to wander around with you for 40 years. I guess. I don't know. So is there your part here? What do we take away from this stuff?
Well, you were saying earlier, just looking back on the journey and how it sounds kind of ridiculous, but it is important. It's kind of like an encouragement to us too, that when you look back on your journey, especially when you look at it in the light of how God has revealed himself to you in your own life, in your own struggles, in your own moments of rejoicing too. We don't want to always just look at the negative, but it's helpful to see where we've come, knowing that God will be just as present with where we are going, in the good, the bad, the ugly.
That's pretty good. We could be grasping at straws to keep our format intact. Maybe.
No. I think there's always something, but for sure this one's a little
more difficult.
Yeah, there we go.
But it is a testimony to where they've been, where the Lord delivered them from, where the Lord has taken them to, and ultimately that God is going to have victory over these false gods of this land. So we'll be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow we are wrapping up Numbers. So we'll see you then.
Yay.
Bye. Hey, thanks so much for listening to our take on God's Word. Stick around and listen to the Word on the second part of the podcast. Before we get in there, we just want to remind you, you can connect with us at any time on social media and YouTube at God's Plan, Your Part. Also, we are a listener-supported podcast, so if you ever want to help us out with the ministry that we're doing, you can do that by clicking the link in our description. And now, here's the reading for today. Numbers chapter 33. These are the stages of the people of Israel when they went out of the land of Egypt by their companies under the leadership of Moses and Aaron. Moses wrote down their starting places stage by command of the Lord, and these are their stages according to their starting places. They set out from Ramses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month. On the day after the Passover, the people of Israel went out triumphantly in the sight of all the Egyptians, while the Egyptians were burying all of their firstborn whom the Lord had struck down among them. On their gods also the Lord executed judgments. So the people of Israel set out from Ramses and camped at Succoth. And they set out from Succoth and camped at Etham, which is at the edge of the wilderness. And they set out from Etham and turned back to Pi-haroth, which is east of Baal-zephon. And they camped before Migdol. And they set out from before Hiroth and passed through the midst of the sea into the wilderness. And they went a 3 days' journey into the wilderness of Etham and camped at Marah. And they set out from Marah and came to Elam. At Elam there were 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees, and they camped there. And they set out from Elam and camped by the Red Sea. And they set out by the Red Sea and camped in the wilderness of Sin. And they set out from the wilderness of Sin and camped at Dophkah. And they set out from Dophkah and camped at Alush. And they set out from Alush and camped at Rephidim, where there was no water for the people to drink. And they set out from Rephidim and camped in the wilderness of Sinai. And they set out from the wilderness of Sinai and camped at Kibroth Hattaavah. And they set out from Kibroth Hattaavah and camped at Hazeroth. And they set out from Hazeroth and camped at Rithmah. And they set out from Rithmah and camped at Rimmon Perez. And they set out from Rimmon Perez and camped at Libnah. And they set out from Libnah and camped at Rissah. And they set out from Rissah and camped at Kelatha. And they set out from Kelatha and camped at Mount Shepher. And they set out from Mount Shepher and camped at Harada. And they set out from Harada and camped at Makalath. And they set out from Makalath and camped at Tahath. And they set out from Tahath and camped at Tira. And they set out from Tira and camped at Mithkah. And they set out from Mithkah and camped at Heshmanah. And they set out from Heshmanah and camped at Moseroth. And they set out from Moseroth and camped at Bena Jakan. And they set out from Bana Shakan and camped at Hor Haggadad. And they set out from Hor Haggadad and camped at Jothabah. And they set out from Jothabah and camped at Arbana. And they set out from Arbana and camped at Ezion Geber. And they set out from Ezion Geber and camped in the wilderness of Zin, that is Kadesh. And they set out from Kadesh and camped at Mount Hor on the edge of the land of Edom. And Aaron the priest went up to Mount Hor at the command of the Lord and died there in the 40th year of the people of Israel had come out of the land of Egypt, on the first day of the 5th month. And Aaron was 123 years old when he died on Mount Hor. And the Canaanite, the king of Arad, who had lived in Negeb in the land of Canaan, heard of the coming of the people of Israel. And they set out from Mount Hor and camped at Zalmonah. And they set out from Zalmonah and camped at Punon. And they set out from Punon and camped at Oboth. And they set out from Oboth and camped at Abarim, in the territory of Moab. And they set out from Liam and camped at Dibon Gad. And they set out from Dibon Gad and camped at Almon Dibatharim. And they set out from Almon Dibatharim and camped in the mountains of Abarim before Nebo. And they set out from the mountains of Abarim and camped in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. They camped by the Jordan from Beth Jeshemoth as far as Abel Shittim in the plains of Moab. And the Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho, saying, Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, When you pass over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their figured stones, and destroy all their metal images, and demolish all their high places. And you shall take possession of the land and settle in it, for I have given the land to you to possess it. You shall inherit the land by lot according to your clans. To a large tribe shall go a large inheritance. To a small tribe you shall give a small inheritance. Wherever the lot falls for anyone, that shall be his. According to the tribes of your fathers you shall inherit. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then those of them whom you let remain shall be as barbs in your eyes and thorns in your sides. And they shall trouble you in the land where you dwell. And I will do to you as I thought to do to them. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Command the people of Israel, and say to them, When you enter the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall to you for an inheritance, the land of Canaan as defined by its borders. Your south side shall be from the wilderness of Zin along Edom, and your southern border shall run from the end of the Salt Sea on the east, and your border shall turn south of the ascent of Akerbim, and cross to Zin, and its limit shall be the south of Kadesh Barnea. Then it shall go on to Hazar Adar, and pass along Asmon. And the border shall run from Asmon to the brook of Egypt, and its limit shall be at the sea. For the western border you shall have the great sea, and at its coast. This shall be your western border. This shall be your northern border. From the great sea you shall draw a line to Mount Hor. From Mount Hor you shall draw a line to Lebamoth. And the limit of the border shall be at Zeded. Then at the border shall extend to Ziphron, and its limit shall be at Hazar Enan. This shall be your northern border. You shall draw a line from your eastern border from Hazar Enan to Shepham, and the border shall go down to Shepham to Riblah at the east side of Ain. And the border shall go down and reach to the border of the sea of Shinnereth on the east. And the border shall go down to the Jordan, and its limit shall be at the Salt Sea. This shall be your land as defined by its borders all around. Moses commanded the people of Israel, saying, This is the land that you shall inherit by lot, which the Lord has commanded to give to the 9 tribes and to the half-tribe. For the tribe of the people of Reuben by fathers' houses, and the tribe of the people of Gad by their fathers' houses, have received their inheritance, and also the half-tribe of Manasseh. The true tribes and the half-tribe have received their inheritance beyond the Jordan east of Jericho toward the sunrise. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, These are the names of the men who shall divide the land to your inheritance. Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun. You shall take 1 chief from every tribe to divide the land for an inheritance. These are the names of the men. Of the tribe of Judah, Caleb the son of Jephunneh. Of the tribe of the people of Simeon, Shemuel the son of Amminahud. From the tribe of Benjamin, Eladad the son of Chilson. From the tribe of the people of Dan, a chief, Buki the son of Jogli. Of the people of Joseph, of the tribe of the people of Manasseh, a chief, Haniel the son of Ephod. And the son of the tribe of the people of Ephraim, a chief, Chemiel the son of Shiftan. Of the tribe of the people of Zebulun, a chief, Elizaphan the son of Parnach. Of the tribe of the people of Issachar, a chief, Paltiel the son of Azan. And all the tribe of the people of Asher, a chief, Ahihud the son of Shelomith. The tribe of the people of Naphtali, a chief, Pedahel the son of Amminahud. These are the men who the Lord commanded to divide the inheritance for the people of Israel in the land of Canaan.
Thanks so much for listening to God's Plan, Your Part. If anything stuck out to you, if you have any questions, or if you'd like to receive a Bible, you can email us at godsplanyourpart@gmail.com. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, please consider supporting us through the link in our description. We love that you're on this journey with us, and we hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow.